Hello and welcome everyone for another round of animation critiques. Every month there is the 11 Second Club competition on 11secondclub.com, and any animator or people who want to be animator can join the competition. You're giving a sound file, usually with a voice in it, that you can then use to create your own animated performance to it. And animators from all over the world use it. There are hundreds of entries sometimes of people trying to animate something fun and entertaining to this sound snippet. And yeah, today we're gonna have a look at a bunch of the entries, because everybody can vote at the end of the month. Everyone can vote and give comments and help each other to improve their animation skills, and this is exactly what we'll be doing here. We're going to try to find lessons that we can learn from other people's animations, mistakes that we can avoid, and overall a bunch of animation tips of how we can all improve the quality level of our animations. Now, I have to say that in the last month I had a lot of problems with the 11 Second Club website, and in the end I had to disable like any save measurements on Chrome. Like there was a little symbol here where I could check that it should allow content from unsecure websites, and now the website is showing up fine again. But yeah, I don't know why they're having problems with this now. They have been up for years, a very trusty and good website, but now I had a bunch of problems as accessing the website, and I could only do it by allowing unsecure content, quote unquote. So yeah, which I think is a bummer, because, you know, as many people should be able to participate and many people should be able to vote. That being said, today we're looking at 228 animations, meaning that we're probably not gonna look at all of these animations. I try to go over as many animations as we can, but yeah, given that is over 200 animations, we probably only have a look at like 30, 40, maybe 50, but yeah, I think that will already allow us to learn a ton about animation. Please tell me if you can hear me all right, and if you can hear the sound all right. Let me just play this first animation, and we already hear what the sound clip is.
Oh, this is pleasant. You could feel the history coming from the walls in here.
Yeah, isn't that wonderful?
Not when the history fights back.
Really amazing sound clip. I already saw that it sparked a lot of creativity, and not that bad of a performance in this first one that we're seeing right here. So yeah, please let me know if you could also hear the sound. I'm gonna play it one more time and actually try to have a really close look so we can talk a little bit about the animation.
Oh, this is pleasant. You could feel the history coming from the walls in here.
Yeah, isn't that wonderful?
Not when the history fights back.
First of all, I really love that the person here created a kind of situation around this whole thing. You know, they're actually trapped in this enclosed space. That's really, really cool. Really good setup here, and some lighting in here. That really helps to sell the situation. Now, animation-wise, let me cut off the sound here. What I do think was done very, very good is that this person was thinking about how to transfer weight. Like before he gets up here, how he gets down, and then butt first, he goes back up. Like this is a really good transfer of weight and shift of weight. This feels really believable to have that happen in multiple steps. You know, he's pushing himself up with the hands, and he's pushing himself up with the knee here, and then that leg is coming forward. Like, these things happening one after the other are really good, really well done. This looks really nice. Personally, what I'm not a big fan of are fingers being fanned out like this. I'm a 2D animator, and it's easier to hunt these perfect shapes in 2D animation, but I don't know, I would probably, like, unless you aren't putting like a lot of weight on it, I wouldn't spread the fingers like this. I would probably see if I could group some of the fingers together, because I feel like the reason why I don't like it is because it adds an unnecessary amount of detail. Like, I don't want to have, like, the more detail you have in a place, the more your eyes are drawn to that detail. And I feel like I don't want the eye to look here, you know, we have this nice detail dense area here that's already distracting us from his face. So I don't know, I would try to keep the shape down there a little bit simpler. There are a bunch of people saying hi in the chat. Hi Abdul, hi Felicia, and hi Roberto. It's awesome that you're here today. If you have any questions or opinions on the current animation, please chime in. And I think there was something in the elbow that I didn't like so much. There's a little bit of jitter here that I feel wasn't intentional. Like, it's good that it moves a bit like in anticipation before the whole getting up stuff, but here there's a little bit too much happening, like up and down. I'm also not too sure about that pose. Like, I don't feel like it. First of all, he is not really resting his head there. Yeah, if you do a pose like this, I think if you just try this yourself, you usually only do this pose if you actually rest your chin on the palm of your hands. I think I don't know, if we do something like this, it's more like at the forehead, and then it's more clearly visible that the palm is not meeting at the chin. But if you have something like that, I think you need to go all the way and have it rest there. I'm just not too sure about this pose because it is so short. I think if it was like an intentionally playful, like, oh, history fights back and blah blah blah, that could be fun if it is held for longer. But as it is, I'm not sure about this pose.
Oh, this is pleasant.
I do like that the accent, that the big motion is on pleasant, though. That's a good tip to really choose where your big motions are on. That can really stress your animation, or the important word in your animation performance. Hey, Alex.
You could feel the history coming from the walls in here.
Yeah, isn't that?
Again, I don't know if this is the most interesting hand shape that could be done here. I don't know, maybe something like this. As I said, I like grouping and then breaking up one finger. That's like the classic recipe of how you do that. That's what the great Disney animators did before us. So why not stick to that recipe that worked for them?
You could feel the history coming from the walls in here.
Yeah, isn't that wonderful?
Not when the history fights back.
I do like the secondary character too, like that he has his own thinking and exploring process going on, putting up his head. I don't know why it is exactly going down like that. Is it broken? I don't know, but I do love that there's some stuff happening there. I mean, it should never distract from your main action going on, but yeah, I mean, this is a solid one. A little bit of touches here and there, I think could make it even better. And I mean, posing is pretty decent. I would experiment more with the hand shapes. You need to be a little bit careful that it doesn't float too much. No, but I think it's okay. Yeah, I think we need to move on to the next animation, but yeah, overall pretty good work. Let's see what is next.
Oh, this is pleasant. You could feel the history coming from the walls in here.
Yeah, isn't that wonderful?
Not when the history fights back.
Okay, some limited 2D animation. Of course, that's always difficult if it goes up to if it goes against some more polished animations. But yeah, I mean, the transitions between poses aren't very smooth. I think this person did think about poses. I'm not sure about the tail merging with the arm here. I think it makes your pose a bit muddy. I'll probably keep it out so you can clearly see in the silhouette that this character has a tail. Yeah, characters holding something like that is always very, very difficult. I do like that you put it out a little bit. I wonder if you need to put it out a little more even, so we have the silhouette even more clear. Yeah, I think I can't quite explain it, but I think the balance feels a bit better if it's a little further out. And other than that, we don't really have a lot of frames to judge things by. I think I would really like to see how this animation looks with a few more frames added. Like, this is all a bit choppy, and especially those things like you have stuff happening at the elbow independently. Like, there's a rotation around the elbow, the left elbow, and then it's suddenly being dragged closer. Like, that could potentially look really weird if you in between this, if you make it more fluent, because usually, I mean, sometimes stuff does settle at different times. That's pretty good to see, actually, but I think the elbow should rotate, like this arm should rotate and come closer at the same time. You also need to be aware that you're doing some twinning here, meaning that you have symmetric poses. That's something that you usually try to avoid to make your poses more interesting, because it gives a nicer rhythm to the whole thing. Yeah, but not bad, not bad. Hi, Infinite Imagination. So that's a good start. More in-betweens, and really think about eases and arcs and have stuff moving smoothly from one place to another. But yeah, keep on animating, I guess. Next one.
Oh, this is pleasant. You could feel the history coming from the walls in here.
Yeah, isn't that wonderful?
Not when the history fights back.
Okay, this one is a bit floaty. I think also because there is not purpose in every pose. I do like that, like, this animation has some moments. Like, I do like that the speed picks up at this moment here. But overall, the poses are a bit undecided.
Oh, this is pleasant.
Yeah. I think I would decide on one pose and really build on that pose to be your main pose, and then have secondary poses on it. Like, I do like how he's leaning forward, but why is he immediately hovering back? Like, this hovering is a problem in 3D animation. Like, animators always let or beginners always let the 3D puppets hover far too much. I feel like you need to you know, decide for a pose and then go for it.
This is pleasant.
So have it, instead of being like, so this is pleasant, have it be like, so this is pleasant. And only have like a little, like you decide for this one to be your main pose, and then you build on it a little bit, and then you go to the next pose. Because if you always go like, first of all, you're gonna run out of poses to do, and you're gonna repeat yourself because your character is moving back and forth for every word, and you maybe have problems transitioning, and that gives you like this hover stuff where they are like just wobbling from one pose to another. But you know, be like, this is pleasant. Like, decide on less poses and use them more, use them longer.
You could feel the history coming from the...
Yeah, those hand motions are totally undecided.
You could feel the history coming from the...
When would you do that? You can feel the history coming from the... But when would you move like that? If you do a gesture, it has a purpose. You can be like, you can feel the history. Like, is he touching the wall to feel the history? Is he pointing to it so somebody can see it? You need to decide that and work that into your pose. Okay. Next one.
Oh, this is pleasant. You could feel the history coming from the walls in here.
Yeah, isn't that wonderful?
Not when the history fights back.
Okay, this is a good example for something that people might call layout. Before you start animating, this is the what you would get from your layout department. Just a rough animation telling you, okay, they're kind of moving here, and then maybe one person is turning the head. That is how like a layout animation would be before the actual animation starts. So yeah, but I mean, this person put some scenery in there. I hope next time he or she actually gets to animate it.
Oh, this is pleasant. You could feel the history coming from the walls in here.
Yeah, isn't that wonderful?
Not when the history fights back.
Okay. We have a bunch of floaty stuff going on here, which is what I said before. You need to... Like, why is he pulling up the shoulders and then opening his mouth and floating like that? That is creepy. Actually, look only at him. And then he has those sudden quick motions. You need to really think about what every motion means. Like, why did he put up his shoulder? Like, did he hear something? Is he afraid of something? Maybe a stone fell down or something, and he's like, and then he realizes how beautiful it is. Like, then you have an explanation. Then you have an explanation why he went like this, and then you're like, wow. But even then, you know, we rarely look around like we don't do that. We are like, oh, there's something over there, and then this beautiful thing goes from there to there. But it's more like it's going from one element to one element. Like, really be like, oh, okay, and here, oh, and there. You see, it's little pose to pose moments. Like, there are some exceptions, like if there's actually an ornament going from left to right, then it can actually happen. Or if you read something, then it can actually happen that we move like slow. But that is really rare. It's usually like, and over there, and there, oh, and there. You know, you need to have these moments, and they need to mean something. Every pose needs to mean something. Felicia says, I'd love to be as happy and amazed by my surroundings as that guy one day. Yeah. Okay, and you know, without sound is even more clear that this gesture, it doesn't have a purpose. It doesn't show something. It doesn't, like, the other person is not even looking at where his hands look. Like, why is he gesturing like that? And what does these mean? Like, what does that mean? Like, don't put motions in there if they don't have a meaning. And as for the lip sync, this is actually a thing that I did too when I did my first lip syncs. I animated every letter that was written in the text, every word, and I made sure that, you know, if there's an O, I put in like an O, and if there was an ah, I opened the mouth and then closed it completely again. The thing is, when we speak quickly, our language, like our mouth movements, just blur into each other, especially if we have similar letters together. The mouth would only really open once. Like if I say really, like you can only see a distinction with the tongue, like really. But all my mouth did for that entire word was opening. Like I did not go really, but really. My mouth just opened and the tongue made the L. And if you do lip sync, you need to think about what words, what letters are blending together, and you need to animate them as one. And there are only very few, like b, p, m, and maybe v, f sounds where your mouth actually needs to be closed, because you cannot make those sounds if your mouth isn't closed. But other than that, it's fair game. Everything is blending over. Like you can see say an E, even with an U, like an O shape, that might change the sound a little bit, but it all blends together when we speak, is what I'm saying.
Oh, this is pleasant.
Yeah, like if you would animate this, oh, this is like only 3 keyframes basically. Oh, this is like 3 or 4 keyframes. That's all that is.
This is.
And how his how his mouth is going sideways.
Pleasant.
I mean, I do love asymmetric poses in. Don't get me wrong. But like, if you make your mouth open so much and then make an oh my god, asymmetric pose, that is far too much.
Feel the history coming from the walls in here.
Yeah, isn't that wonderful?
Not when.
Okay, and eyes don't hover like this either. Like we do really quick eye darts usually, and only have slow eye movement if we're following something that moves.
The history fights back.
Okay. I think I leave it with that. But yeah, I mean, yeah, this is a good start. This person figured out how the technology works and how the tool works, and now he or she only needs to do some more actual practice defining the poses, defining the moments that tell something about your character and what they want to convey. Okay, next one.
Oh, this is pleasant. You could feel the history coming from the walls in here.
Yeah, isn't that wonderful?
Not when the history fights back.
Okay. Yeah, so a couple of things with the walk cycle. I don't really know how this was animated, but how do you get that impression? I feel like okay, so what angle do we come from? Walk cycles are actually described really well in many books. Maybe I have The Illusion of Life. I even have The Illusion of Life open right now behind me on a page about run cycles. So see how, you know, even I work as an animator and I sometimes refer to books to see how they did it. And if you do that, there are a bunch of awesome resources on how to do walks. And walks are pretty regular, which makes it kind of easy you know, if you have a guideline, then you know how to animate walks. It's all described here. For example, in the Animator Survival Kit by Richard Williams. And if you have a book like this, all you have to do is follow the information and you will have a decent walk cycle. For 3D in particular, a few pointers that I would advise you is, first of all, don't move the origin of the character. Like every rig usually has a big master controller at their legs, but usually, especially in feature film animation, games may be different, but in cinematic animation, you usually place the origin once, and then you let your character run out of the origin, using the principles described, for example, in the Animator Survival Kit. And then I feel like they're not actually moving outwards the legs. I feel like these people are just lifting their legs up while being shifted around. So also the hip motion is not following following up, doesn't really have weight in the hips, because I mean, what are the hips reacting to? There's no real walk motion to go off. So just research how this is done, and your animation, your walk animation, will improve a lot. Hi Marigane, and hi Saksekezetoy. Great that you're here, guys. If you have any questions, or you want to say something about the animation that we talk about, please do that. And this time I will actually try to answer every question. Like last time, I'm so sorry, I think I overlooked a question at the end, and I even said like I will get back to you at the end, and I didn't. But this time I really tried to answer any question that you guys might have. Yeah, the other thing, I think we talked about that last time, we usually don't hold our arms outwards like that, because, you know, holding arms like this costs a lot of energy. Like just try to be in this pose for a little while. You will see that your arms will get really heavy, because, you know, we humans are lazy. We always keep our arms, especially the upper arm, we keep the upper arm close to our body, because why would you put the energy into walking like this? But, you know, this will also an issue that will be solved when you follow an instruction on how to do a walk cycle. I do like the gesture. I think the person is touching the wall. Like, that makes sense. Maybe a bit too quick, but yeah. And, you know, if you do stuff like this, like, first of all, this is very, there's no curve in this. So I assume it's done with the inverse kinematic. Usually you would do arm motions like that with forward kinematics, so you get a nice round, yes, let's do it. And as you can see, my whole shoulder and my whole upper body is moving. Like, not if the history fights back. Like, did you see that little bit of drift I had in my upper body? Like, not if the history fights back. Like, moving like that, making a big gesture like that is a thing of the whole body. But yeah, I do like that this guy put some, like, he or she incorporated the wall element, and we have a little bit of scenery, which really isn't necessary and it's really not making or breaking your animation, but yeah, I gave it a little scene. And then good luck improving the animation side of things. Okay, let's look at the next animation.
Oh, this is pleasant. You could feel the history coming from the walls in here.
Yeah, isn't that wonderful?
Not when the history fights back.
Okay, I do like the museum setting. That's a creative idea. Again, I think the same stuff we discussed about earlier. You need to find the few poses that help selling your ideas. I love the idea of a guy standing in front of a picture being like, this is interesting. Like, I think having minimal motion, you know, like people actually have when they stand in a museum and are like, what does this tell me? I think just, you know, just a few well-designed poses could have really been enough here. So...
Oh, this is pleasant.
Yeah, you really don't, you can't really read his progression here. But I think, yeah, maybe there should be a progression. Maybe he should be like, you know, he hasn't seen it yet, but then he has seen it. You know, think about what thoughts and feelings your character has, and then give a pose for every thought or feeling. Be like, oh, this museum is boring. Oh, what is that? This is interesting. You know, have this little journey in his head and have really precise poses. Don't bother too much about making everything fluid at the beginning. If you're a beginning animator, animate pose to pose. Or better, animate thought to thought. And give every thought a pose or build on an existing pose. But, you know, make sure that you have a progress, a process in your character's head, and that every movement has a purpose. That's basically it.
You could feel the history coming from the walls in here.
Yeah, isn't that wonderful?
Not when the history fights back.
Yeah, and then it just ends.
Oh, this is pleasant. You could feel the history coming from the walls in here.
Yeah, isn't that wonderful?
Not when the history fights back.
Okay. Okay, also the museum concept here.
Oh, this is pleasant.
I don't feel like before he says pleasant, like I don't feel like there's anything going on in his head. Like, he's looking around, okay, I get that. Again, looking around should usually be more like, I look here, I look there, okay, reaction. But then, you know, he goes completely blank here. He even like just has his hands down like that. What was that? Like, there's nothing in his head. Pleasant. Pleasant. There's nothing. Yeah, again, far too floaty. Why is he looking in that direction? Isn't he talking to that other person? He could follow that person, but that is not what he's doing. Then there's no actual walk here. Like, even if you don't animate a walk, at least like bob the hip up and down, so you have a little bit of a walk cycle there. I do like the pose going more open. Okay. Yeah, I mean, we talked about a bunch of things that also apply to this animation, but yeah, okay. Mary Gain already said, I have the feeling we're going to see a lot of museum. Yeah, it seems to be a good setting for this one. Sakazeitio has a suggestion. Why don't you skip the lack of fundamental animation and stop when you find the decent ones? The thing is, I think I want to incorporate some basic animation, some beginner's animation, because these people need the advice the most. In fact, the beginner, the best animation, even gets an official animation critique from Animation Mentor. That is the prize that you can win. But I think you can also learn from the fundamentals what the basic workflow and what the basic thoughts should be. So we're gonna do a couple of these, but yeah, I promise I'll try to go quicker through them, and yeah, I'll try to get to some more higher level ones so we can talk about the details of animation a little more. You're definitely right, and I'm sorry that I can't pronounce your name right. Okay, next animation. Oh, is it not coming up? Ah, there's one.
Oh, this is pleasant. You could feel the history coming from the walls in here.
Yeah, isn't that wonderful?
Not when the history fights back.
Okay. And then there's a bunch of black. Yeah, so this is actually lacking more fundamentals than the things that we had before. Body is held completely stiff. What is that motion? People don't turn like this. They actually have stuff going on in their hip. What is that concept though? Like he's in white in front of a black wall, and then he turns and he's black in front of. Is that a concept or just bad lighting? I don't know. Yeah. Next one.
Oh, this is pleasant. You could feel the history coming from the walls in here.
Yeah, isn't that wonderful?
Not when the history fights back.
I like that there was some cinematography actually going on, and not too bad. Again, of course, limited animation is always gonna look like limited animation. What you can, like, I do like this moment where the person redrew everything. Like, that's a really nice shoulder drop. One thing that you could do to really make your animation better is to make little moments like this more 3D-ish. Like especially in the collar and in the jacket. Now this is pretty boring. It's just going more or less straight down. But if you use this to actually tell a shape, to tell a direction, you can make your 2D animation a lot more. Give it a lot more volume. Like let's say he's facing more in that one direction at first, then you could have him be more like this, you know, give some volume to his chest. That can really be interesting, and have actually do statements with how you do stuff, like your here the arms. Is this just straight, or is it going like this volume wise, or is it hanging over like this? That makes a huge difference. That makes it a lot more 3D-ish, gives it a lot more volume. And if you have something like this, you can have him turn, like when he drops his shoulders, he could turn slightly while doing that, and you know, now be facing more in that direction, with the jacket going like this and the collar being like this. That can make a huge difference in your 2D animation if you incorporate things like that. And then of course, you know, his shoulder should actually shrink. Like this now should be a little more inwards, and the shoulder is a bit more outwards now. If you have this shift in 3D, just a little tiny bit can make a huge difference. Things that I'm always a bit annoyed, I don't know, like anatomically your neck doesn't connect like that under the chin like this. It's more like going from here, you know. That can make a huge difference. It's not like that you need to be super anatomically correct, but if you do it where the neck really connects, even in a very stylized animation, it just feels more real. It just feels more like human characters, I guess. Okay. I do like, there's like a little bit of an overshoot. There could have been one more frame of a saddle here, you know, when he comes back up. And I feel like he's shrinking a bit in volume. He's not only hanging his shoulders down. You need to pay attention that he and his head doesn't shrink. And the best way to do this is have a model sheet underneath, and every now and then check if your head still has the same size. And I actually do like stylized things like that you have your character be go pose to pose like that. Depending on the style that you have, this can really work. What could also be nice, if he is going from pose to pose with just one frame, but the flash could be actually animated. The flash could just be like this short little burst of light that you see for 2, 3, 4 frames, and maybe like a nice shadow effect on him, but then you have him pop from pose to pose. And that's just a nice comedic reaction that he's photographing him. I would add like more time. Well, first of all, this motion should not be that straight as it is. Use a little bit of an arc going up. Now where can I draw? A little bit of an arc going up and down like that. Why is it so small all of a sudden? Whew. Okay, a little bit of an arc going up and down like that. And then I think you need to pause before the flash comes. So we really see that he has the camera there, and then so that you have one important thing happening after the other, and not that almost at the same time. So just be like, camera. So we have the time to see it all, one after the other. But I do like the concept. I really do. Next one. Is there one that is just not working, or? Huh. There's one that seems to be broken. Let's hope the next animation shows up. Uh-oh. Nothing working no more. Let's try it again. 11-second club, vote. Ah, there it is again. That's what I meant. I always get this little warning when I go to the 11-second club website. This website tries to use script from an unsafe source, and then I just have to say load unsafe scripts, and now we can continue. I hope. No, we can't. Oh man. Okay, let's give this a second to fix itself, hopefully. I wanted to tell you about my mentoring offer. If you like the way that I talk about animation and you want me to have a look at your animation, to analyze what you animated, and to give you advice on how to improve it and how to become an even better animator, you can go to animatorisland.com/mentoring. It's also on the main page. If you go to animatorisland.com, you can just click on mentoring. The link is in the chat right now, so you can click on that. And yeah, we have 3 different offers. First of all, we have recorded video critiques, where you send me your animation and I'm gonna record a critique, how I draw over them, annotate it, give you some helpful tips and tricks, either 15 minutes or 30 minutes long. And you also have the opportunity to get a 1-hour live video call with me, where we can talk about your animation, your career choices, talk about exercises that you could do to really get to the next level of animation. So yeah, if that sounds interesting to you, if you want my opinion on your animation, want me to help you to get better at animation, head over to animatorisland.com/mentoring. And yeah, now let's hope that this problem is no longer here after we refreshed it. Yeah, the 11-second club website has been a bit buggy recently. Let's try to go again to 11secondclub.com. Oh, it's even showing up for once. Usually I can't go to the main page. Come on, please. Let's try it with the next animation, please. Oh man, yeah, as I'm trying to fix this, does anyone have a question about animation in general? We could talk about that. So, yeah, if I'm not able to fix this, we can turn this into an animation Q&A. If you have any questions about animation in 2D and 3D or whatever it is, please let me know in the chat. It says 13 minutes left to vote anyway. So looks like this is being cut short. Definitely by that deadline. Maybe they stopped it earlier. Yeah, try using another browser. That is a good idea too. Um, 11-second club. Oh yeah, we're getting a blank page. They really need to fix their website. What was it? /vote? Almost. Current competition, maybe vote. 12 minutes left. Come on, let me have those 12 minutes. Oh man, come on, log in. I need to log in. I'm doing that on my browser, on my other monitor right now. And let's see if it works. Does it work? Oh man. I'm so sorry that this fun is being cut short. Okay, so we have a few questions coming in. And I'm gonna try to fix it while I'm answering the questions. So if I sometimes stop mid-sentence, then it's because I'm trying to fix something. What have we here? We have Lesson John, who asked, is it necessary to have a digital tablet? I think is what you mean for 2D animation. If you need a tablet for 2D animation. And yeah, for certain kind of 2D animation, you definitely need a tablet. A lot of 2D animation is no longer done on pen and paper. There's some productions where they do that, but most of it is done directly, digitally, into the animation software. And you can really start, like there are some off-brand models, like you don't have to get Wacom. There are some tablets starting at like $30, $40, $50 or euros, and those are definitely enough for the beginning. But if you do traditional frame-by-frame animation, I think you need that as a tool in your toolbox, right? And there is other kind of animation though, of 2D animation, where you work with rigs. If you work with rigs, is a little more like in 3D, you have bones and stuff like that, and then oftentimes you can just use the mouse. Oh, I think the 11-second club is back, so maybe we should switch back to that for now. But we will talk about some of your questions later on. And yeah, thank you so much for so many questions. We're gonna talk about them since we apparently don't have that much time left. But yeah, let's have a look at a couple more 11-second club entries. That's what you signed up for here, right?
Oh, this is pleasant. You could feel the history coming from the walls in here.
Yeah, isn't that wonderful?
Not when the history fights back.
I do like the concept of them sitting in an insane asylum. I do get what this motion is supposed to be. I just think it's far too broad. And you know, you have an animation style where you use a lot of frames, so I think in that animation style you also have to animate the head turns. I do love the expressions here. Yeah. I feel like this kind of animation can be the hardest. Like the most exaggerated animation sometimes can be the hardest because you need to think about what exactly is it you exaggerate. Like don't exaggerate everything. Only exaggerate the most important moments, because then exaggeration really shines and it's not just jittery and a distraction. But I don't know. I somehow really. Yeah, no, it's a bit too much, and not fluent enough. But I do like the creativity in this one. Good one.
Oh, this is pleasant. You could feel the history coming from the walls in here.
Yeah, isn't that wonderful?
Not when the history fights back.
Okay, a bunch of jittery poses going on. There's no decision clearly what the pose means. Like, what are those short twitches here? They really shouldn't be there. Like, really decide on what you want to say in a moment and go for that. Same in the face. Like, why are those momentary twitches? There's no smooth motion in here. I try to make it all a bit more decided and a bit smoother.
Oh, this is pleasant. You could feel the history coming from the walls in here.
Yeah, isn't that wonderful?
Not when the history fights back.
What a set of characters. A guy with a box on his head?
Oh, this is pleasant.
At first I wasn't sure if he was the guy talking because I missed.
Oh, this is
Yeah, he didn't open the mouth. Like, even if you have a character being like, oh, like already in his default position, if he starts talking, I think it's a good idea to open the mouth more. Because, you know, usually if we have our mouth open, we don't have it like that. We just have it like a little bit. And if we start talking, we usually have to open it more. Be like, oh, look at her like this. And then, oh, this is interesting. Like, you know, and you can really see then if this person is the one talking.
pleasant. You could feel the history coming from the walls.
And I kind of do like the limited animation here. If you want to improve the animation quality, of course, also rotate the shoulder area a little bit during the turn.
Yeah, isn't that wonderful?
Yeah, and here, you know, that is very isolated, and you see that those are in different layers. But yeah, I mean, isn't it interesting? If you do less poses, if you do less moving around, you sometimes have the much better competition entries.
Oh, this is pleasant. You could feel the history coming from the walls in here.
Oh
Yeah,
my.
isn't that wonderful?
Not when the history fights back.
What exactly is he doing? Like, he's leaning on him, but looking away at the same time? That, you know, do references, think about how an actor would play this, how actual human interaction would look like. Then we have a camera movement that I feel like, at first I was like, oh, we're gonna see that person's face, but no, there's no point in this motion. Like, we didn't see the face before, we don't see it after. We have a really muddy pose where everything is just blending into each other. We had someone was asking about better posing. Josephine Ta was asking, hi, do you have some tips to improve posing? Yeah, for example, try to find a better silhouette. First of all, we could really go for a more interesting line of action here. Something like that, maybe. And then, you know, at the moment, it's all like kind of going muddy together, especially that hand there. That's really important because that's where the person touches the wall. That's where the person is making a connection with the wall. We have to see that. We need to see that. Oh, I deleted everything. Okay, so in short, I would lean it in a little more because that person is really interesting. Then I will make sure that you see that is so important. So important. And then really, I don't know. The thing is, posing takes a lot of tries. Like even for me, I sometimes, if I have the time and the budget to make a great animation, I'm gonna scribble like pages of thumbnails, pages and pages, to find the best pose. And then maybe let's keep this arm out of it, but still in like somewhat of a tension. I don't know, maybe like that. Maybe that's a bit too much. But this gives us a nice, like if we keep this straight, but maybe here, maybe a little lower, then we have a nice straight against curve kind of setup. We have something curvy, something pointy here. We have something really straight and flowy here. That can be very visually pleasing. So I would go for that whenever I can. Okay. Yeah, I mean, let's leave it with that for now. Maybe we can get in another animation.
Oh, this is pleasant. You could feel the history coming from the walls in here.
Yeah, isn't that wonderful?
Not when the history fights back.
What? What? Okay, cute murderous squirrels? I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I do like that this person was going more pose to pose, but it still feels a little bit stiff. You need like more overshoots. You need to think more about how your eases are. And especially if you have a simple character like this, it can make a huge difference if you offset, if you move the body a little and you move the head a little too, but at different rates. Like the body could already come to a hold while the head is still going, but maybe the ear is still lagging behind. Like especially if you have a simple character, these things will really make it shine. And obviously if you have a more complex character, you have more of these parts to juggle, and it can really make your animation even better. I don't like how the teeth are going into his body. Like I feel like, I don't know, especially with that character where the teeth are like the main features, this is not something that you can easily fix later. Like you should really see that this is already going well in your blocking. And then I don't quite understand it. Like, is he dead? Why is he? And again, you know, moving like that without any shoulder motion is highly unlikely and very robot-like. And I mean, usually if you go realistically, you probably do something with your arm to support your body again. But okay.
Oh, this is pleasant. You could feel the history coming from the walls in here.
Yeah, isn't that wonderful?
Not when the history fights back.
Okay, these characters are swaying way too much. Like, I get it, you want to put in a moving hold, but I don't know, it doesn't look like real weight. It just looks like they're rotating weirdly. Moving hold is usually a settle. Like, you put yourself in a pose, and then you're settling a little bit. You know, you're still drifting in that direction, or you're drifting in the opposite direction because you're settling in the other direction. And it's very rarely like a mechanical rotation, but moving holds are really difficult. As I said in the beginning, you should much rather animate pose to pose. Again, the single poses should mean more. Like, it should really be like, interesting. You know, and then stick with it, stay with it for as long as possible. Maybe have a little gesture on top of it and go back. But, you know, the gesture should point out something, tell us something about an inner process or about interaction between the two characters. Yeah, let's get to the chat. I'm gonna get to you, chat, in a minute. Let's see if we can fit in another animation. No, that's it. The vote is done for the for last month. Now a new competition started. Maybe we can even listen to that. Can we listen to that? No. Huh. November competition. But yeah, if you think this looked interesting and you maybe want to test your animation skills, I can highly recommend that you participate in November's competition. Let's see, can we download this? No, I don't know. But yeah, go over to 11secondclub.com and see what you can find there, and maybe you feel inspired to participate this month. So I think I'm gonna get to your questions in the chat. We talked about if you need a tablet to do 2D animation, and Animator Explorer 101 says no. I've tried my hand at traditional with paper, flipbook. In Japan, it's normal to animate mainly on paper, then scanning it to the computer. And I mean, yeah, first of all, okay, to start animation, you don't need a tablet. To start learning animation, you can start with a flipbook, or you can just get a Post-it note. Do I have Post-it notes here? I don't have anything in reach, but just get sticky notes, Post-it notes, and you can use that as a flipbook. And that's how you can make your first animations and learn about the basics of animation. But in the professional environment, most studios I have worked for in the US and in Europe are not animating 2D on paper. And I feel like a lot of studios in Japan are not doing the shift because they are afraid that if they change their workflow, that they get slower and they're, you know, never change a running system. They're not daring to switch to to digital. But, and I can also understand if some people say, like, you know, there's no feeling like drawing in paper and stuff. I get that. But economically, going from what animation costs, it just doesn't make much sense to animate on paper unless you want to have that feel of paper animation. That means paper animation in art is probably great. Paper animation in if you do your own projects, yeah, you can do paper animation, or if you're just starting out. But if you want to learn at a studio, if you want to work at a studio, you probably should also be able to work on a tablet and have a little bit of knowledge in the industry standard softwares like TV Paint or Toon Boom Harmony, where you can directly draw in. But yeah, to get started, sure, get started on paper and then add digital to your toolbox later. Merrigan asks, let me see if I can bring that up. Oh, and another thing for learning on tablet, for paper, while you can have a flipbook, but if you make bigger animations, you can only flip like 3 frames or 4 frames back and forth. The advantage of working digitally is you can just press play. I mean, sometimes it's a disadvantage because you get distracted pressing play over and over again and just watching your animation for no reason. But think about the olden days where people had to put their animation in a scanner or under a camera, take the photos, and only then they could see how their animation looks. Nowadays, you can just, you know, draw frames on a timeline, press play, and you already see how it works. So I don't know. I feel like that really speaks to for using tablets and for using the computer. Yeah, then again, when you work with rigs, you can do that with a mouse, though. So Okay, so Mary Gain asks about the mentoring sessions. Would you review rather realistic animations, such as creatures, in your mentoring sessions, or are you focused on cartoony style? To be honest, I only ever have been an animation supervisor and animator for cartoony things. I have never ever animated really realistic stuff myself. However, I feel like that my view, I sometimes gave feedback to a person animating next to me on another project with realistic creatures, and I feel like I could help him to find the beats in his animation and to the moments that he should make stand out. Now, he probably shouldn't make them stand out as much as I wanted to force him to do it, but I think it helped him to focus on, like, my cartoony eye helped him to find the important moments and the bigger mistakes in his animation. So what I would say to you is, I mean, I'd be really interested to see what you do. You can head over to animatorisland.com/mentoring, and you can have a free first call with me. It's anyone of you listening. If you're not sure if I can help you, or of what you want to talk about with me, then you can schedule a free first call, and then for 15 minutes we can talk in Skype, and you can already show me your animation, and then we can find out if I can help you, if I have some advice for you. I can already draw over your animation, give you some tips and annotations. So let me put again the link. If you want mentoring with me, and if you want a free first chat with me, head over to animatorisland.com/mentoring, and yeah, then we can already talk about your animation there. Okay, so let's see what other chat things, whatever other stuff we had going on in the chat. Do you have some tips to improve posing? We already talked about that a little bit. Let me say though that if you go to animatorisland.com and just click on the little search button and search for posing, you will find a series that I wrote a while ago about I think it's called Perfect Posing, and we have Perfect Posing 1, 2, and 3. I'm gonna post a link to Perfect Posing 1 in the chat. And it's a detailed article going about different things that you can do to make your poses more awesome, stand out more, be more pleasant to look at. So you might want to have a look at that. Oh yeah, and that was the comment that I read while I was talking about the animation, the 11-second club animations. Nishant says, filming reference are important to plan most of these out. I think some animators believe they can animate without reference, but that's only true mechanically, not artistically. And I think you have a very important point here, that definitely reference can make a huge difference for your animation. Like I can definitely say that that if you do reference, and maybe even don't be the one acting in front of the camera, get a friend to act. Maybe switch roles. The problem is, if you act yourself, you are observing yourself at the same time, and that's never good, because in that moment when you're observing yourself, you're not the character, you're not acting, you're not 100% that character. So it's better if you direct someone else, and then you can also say from the outside, okay, now try it a little more angry, try it a little more hesitant, or have more respect for the wall, or, you know, things like that. And then just see what happens. The thing with reference is that actors, even amateur actors, they will give you little gestures like itching, scratching, just, you know, those things that we do instinctively that sometimes are really hard to think about when you just sit in front of a computer. And that can really be the salt in your animation. That can make it really, really better if you do that. Animation Explorer 101. Do you have a tutorial on water or effect animation? Oh, let me bring that up here. No, I don't think that we do. Which is actually weird because that's one of my favorite topics. I love doing effect animation because it's so, like, you almost meditate in a way if you do effect animation. No, we really don't. We really don't have a tutorial about water. But yeah, I mean, we could do a Let's Animate about that. I don't want to promise anything, but I will try to do that soon, because it's such a fun and I don't know, I like this kind of animation. So yeah, effect animation. Actually, what I also think is interesting, that even nowadays, when they do like blood splatters in films, sometimes they're 2D animation because it would be too much work to make like a 3D fluid simulation behave exactly how it is. And then in some of those realistic Hollywood blockbusters, you sometimes have moments of 2D blood, but of course you can't see that, it's 2D animation. Just because you have so much control in 2D animation about how the splash exactly is gonna look. It needs some effect work to fit in, some compositing work to look like real blood. But yeah, so 2D effects are not completely dead. Winnin says, if you drink every IK hand at the series, you'll be very drunk already. Yeah, that is true. We did that, I think, in the very first episode. I was drinking a shot every time we had floating hands in one of the animations. We might bring that back. We might bring that back for December. Isn't December the month of eggnog and warm alcoholic drinks? Oh my god, I said the word alcohol. Now this is gonna be demonetized again. So, alright, let me see. Blessed John says, I would love to make 2D animation. We have a tutorial on Animator Island right now that will get you started. If you click like on Animator Island, there's this big menu point, free tutorial. Like if you just go to animatorisland.com, there's this big link for free tutorial, and that starts with the very, very animation basics. It's perfect when you're just starting out, or if you want to relearn the basics of animation. I'm gonna put the link in the description. It's a 1-hour tutorial talking about like the very basics of free fall and physics and the bouncing ball, one of the most fundamental exercises that you need to do. I'm also gonna put that link in the chat. This is a great start for you. And I'm working on a course. I'm working on a, well, at first I'm working on a 3D animation course that's gonna be, I don't know when it will be done. So much work to do. But after that, I'm also gonna have a 2D animation course, going through a bunch of the basics. And yeah, do we have some more fundamental drawing courses? Let me bring that up. Kasturi is asking for fundamental drawing courses. We don't have them on Animator Island, but there are a bunch of cool YouTube channels out there, like Draw with Jazza, for example, or Sucra, SYRCA, I think, or something like that. There are a bunch of good drawing. Like if you put in drawing tutorials or character design tutorials or something, if you search that on YouTube, you're gonna find some really good ones. I should maybe make one eventually too, but this is probably not coming up soon on Animator Island. All right. We have an interesting question from Abdul Fahim. Let me bring that up. Why pure frame-by-frame hand-drawn animation is no more? 3D overtakes 2D though. I don't know drawing, but I like watching and making of 2D animation. Yeah, certainly in the feature film area, we only have seen 3D animation recently, but I think in television, 2D animation is very much alive. I mean, if you think about like Rick and Morty, Steven Universe was actually drawn, I think, frame by frame on paper. And then you have Gravity Falls and all these great shows actually animated really well in 2D. I think as far as feature film goes, Disney tried to bring it back with Princess and the Frog, and it just didn't go well money-wise, so they axed off 3D because 2D because the public wants to see 3D. But I mean, there are some interesting independent animation films going on, like The Boy and the World, or what are these films called by Cartoon Saloon? There's this one company in one of the Scandinavian countries, Cartoon Saloon, and they have a bunch of cool films, like stylistically very, very interesting. Oh yeah, they have The Breadwinner. I haven't seen that one yet. But Song of the Sea, Secret of Kells, really, really good films. Really, really well done 2D animation. Also hand-drawn on paper, actually. So there are some jobs for those people who like to draw on paper. But, you know, they're more like in the independent area, not in the main feature film area. Okay. Let's see what else we have in the chat going on. Did I overlook some stuff? Talked about reference. Animator Explorer 101 suggested some YouTubers for you to check out. And Blessed John says, I do make flipbook animation. When I came to know about 2D animation, digitally is more easy. Dragon Skunk, hello. Let me bring up your comment. Dragon Skunk says, I just did a sort of rotoscope, but I didn't trace as it was for a CG character. Instead, I observed a boxer and mimicked the character's pose. Then I added the motion for more arc and smoothing. Yeah, this is exactly how we should think about reference and you know, especially for stuff like boxing, I think you have to take reference, because you're not a boxer. Or if you do sword fights, how would you know how to sword fight or how to box? You know, what you need to put in there. If your character is a professional boxer, you need to put professional box moves in it. And where would you get that from? You need to look at reference, and then because it's animation, you can heighten it, make the accents stronger, make sure that anything important is seen. Yeah. Okay, so Dragon Skunk should put the link in the chat. I'm gonna trust you, so I put this on show. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, let's have a look at this together, I guess. Or would it be okay if you looked at this together, Dragon Skunk, at your animation? Let me see what other things we have in the chat. Another interesting question. Is it recommended to use other animations as reference or strictly animate from realism? Of course you should look at other people's animation too, especially at the great Disney masters. It's amazing what stuff they put in to their animation, and especially things that can't be put in or that can't exist in a real reference maybe. So yeah, definitely analyze what they have to. You should never steal though. Like the moment you draw over it, like exactly trace it, and leave it with that, that's probably not good. You need to add your own interpretation. Like you can get inspired from what you see, but you should make it your own. You should add interesting things to your toolbox, but create something that is new from it, ideally. As an exercise, okay, you can copy and trace all you want, but if you want to put out there that is your own, you need to make it your own. And of course it can be inspired by the great masters as well. I mean, there's always things like, how Milt Kahl did the head wobbles. Like this is a very typical thing that he put in his animation. Really nice. Or his hand motions, like that is, if you study that, you know how to make hands. For example, in The Sword in the Stone, I think is the English title. I'm not entirely sure. The one with Madame Mim and King Arthur and stuff, and Merlin. And Merlin is my absolute favorite animation character. The way he does gestures is just so brilliant. And I really like to look at that animation frame by frame to see all those amazing hand poses in there. Okay. Now things are a little bit overlapping. I think first we're gonna have a look at Dragon Skunk's animation. Okay, so you're rotoscoping this boxer. Okay, the original footage. Wow, that is amazing though. That's a pretty awesome fight. Oh yeah, stabilizing is a good idea. And you can do that with After Effects, and I think even with Premiere nowadays. Really good. Yeah, that's a good example for, you have to use reference here. I mean, how would you know from the top of your head? How would you know this? How would you know how she's moving? Amazing how she gets back up. Okay. I think my biggest issue is that you have her floating a bit, and I don't know where that comes from. Is if the stabilization wasn't stable enough. But I think in the next step you definitely need to make sure that the feet don't slide. But I mean, you have the meat of the poses. Yeah, how does the arm fall like that? Can we? Okay. What I miss a little bit in your animation, that the boxer, she's actually getting the force to get back up. Do you see that? She's getting the force from her hands. And that is something that is missing a bit in your rotoscope. I don't know if that was due to time constraints or why you tuned it down a bit, but it makes her getting up feel a little bit out of nowhere. Like, where's she taking this force from? I think you need to nail that more down, nail the hands more down. And then, of course, when she hits the ground, her feet need to be planted and need to stay there. But yeah, that is my biggest complaint. There's definitely a good workflow. Oh, okay. Your plan was she uses her elbows to force herself up. Yeah, but the elbows are also not planted on the ground. Like the moment you use your elbows for something like that, they shouldn't move at all anymore. But they're sliding a little bit here. Slide while she's getting up. You need this moment where it's completely still. And I'm not quite sure if you can do that way. Like, I feel like if you use your elbows like that, she has her arm stretched out pretty much. But I feel like if you do that, if you really use your elbows to push, you have them like going up more like that, I feel like. Have more of an angle? I don't know. But now we are again at the field of speculation, where maybe some further reference could clear up how exactly you lift yourself up with your elbows. But thank you so much for demonstrating your workflow. I think it's really a really good method. And yeah, as I said, you basically only can animate this scene if you look at reference. And yeah, it's gonna be great. Is it just an exercise just for fun, or are you using that in a film or in, you know, the surrounding of a story? Because I'd really like to see that in action, embedded in something. Really nice. Let me see. Another interesting question from Blessin John. If we are a beginner in 2D animation and want to learn animation, do I need to do daily exercises or something else, like practice stuff? Or should I practice to make short stories? Well, I mean, there are many ways to become a professional animator, many ways to go that road. Let me bring something up. We actually have on Animator Island, we have the 51 animation exercises. You can actually just Google for 51 animation exercises and you will find it. I'm putting the link in the chat as well. And all it is a list of 51 exercises that you could do to learn animation. And this is actually where the free tutorial that we have comes from. It's talking about the first of these exercises. And it's just ideas what you could do. And if you do all of them, you should be a lot better by the end of it. If you can work on it daily, that is probably the best. But I understand that most people can't set aside an hour or 2 hours every day for practice. But if you can do that, if you're probably when you are like in education, when you're studying something, that's the only time in your life where you can actually take so much time to practice a new skill, then definitely do that, because practice is the only thing that makes you better. And try to analyze it, get input from professionals or from friends who already are animators and ask them, hey, do you think this looks right? What am I doing wrong? You could go to the 11 Second Club forums, if the website works, and ask there what those people think about your animation. Or you could go to animatorisland.com/mentoring and send your animation to me. The thing is, I think you need to mix it up. If you only do exercises, that's gonna get boring and frustrating after a while. So do work on your short stories. Think about stories that you want to tell with animation. And you know, if you realize, okay, maybe I tell a lot of fantasy stories with sword fights, then you know that's a specialty that you should look into. Maybe pick up sword fighting yourself, or find a way how to get that sweet reference that you need. Or maybe you realize, I'm not that interested in fluent animation. I'm more interested in like South Park style satire, funny dialogues and stuff like that. Then maybe you should pick up a few tutorials or lessons about writing, you know, about how to build stories and things. So you maybe do mini projects. That's always my advice, because we tend to overestimate our skills and our time that we have and do projects that are far too big for us. And then we just have a little bit of it done and never finish it. and that's frustrating and demotivating. So do really small things, like be like, okay, I'm doing this one scene, I'm doing this 1 minute scene, or for the 11-second club, I do this 10-second snippet. Just make small projects and make exercises. Okay, so what else do we have in the chat? Would you recommend working at a studio for animation or going independent? I mean, this is a question that you will get always different answers depending on the animator. I am working more on smaller budget stuff, and I like it. I like independent animation because the thing with big studios is that you are only one part of a huge machinery. And if you are an animator at Disney or at Pixar, you don't have a say in the story. There's some exceptions. They sometimes have events where you can pitch stories, blah, blah, blah. But usually the high budget films, feature films, American feature films, are very high. Like there's a hierarchy. And as an animator, you're relatively low in the hierarchy. Sure, you can, like, if you like digging into the acting performance and, you know, making it as polished as possible, if that is something that you are really into, then working at a big studio might be just for you. To me, I always want to have, like, at least I have the feeling that I can influence the big story a bit if I wanted to. And you have that at small studios. Like if you say, like, I don't know, it and the hierarchies are a lot more flat. Like in small studios, you can actually, you know, talk with the director, whereas in feature films, I don't know, you might see the directors for certain sign-offs and stuff, but you know, you're not part of that high-level decision-making area. But you know, being independent is hard. Going independent is hard. If you're a freelancer, you need to constantly find new work. You need to constantly find ads that you can work on. Maybe flyer designs. Maybe I do web design sometimes if animation isn't going that well. Explainer videos. You know, that might also not be your like that might be a trade-off that you don't want to do. And then of course there are those middle animation studios that are not big, but they're also not super small. And what they really need is generalists, I think it's how it's called, is people who know a lot about different fields of animation, you know, who can animate but also model and texture. You know, that's also a level that you could be aiming at. If you say, like, okay, I like animation, but I want to do some modeling. I also want to do some texturing from time to time. Then a middle-sized company might be right for you. Dragon Skunk says, when I think of big studios, I see really wasted potential, like animating something for Michael Bay. Yeah, mean, but true. They're amazing. I know like one of the most amazing VFX artists. I had the privilege of being a co-student with him. Like he is amazing. He animated for Michael Bay for one of the Transformers movies. And it was really interesting what he sometimes says, like the attention to weird detail that they had to put into their animation. But you know, it's just a Michael Bay throwaway movie, if you may. But yeah, and you know, that's one of the things, that those feature film blockbusters, they take so much time to make. And even at Disney and Pixar, we have sometimes films that aren't that good. Like, I mean, who wants to animate for Cars 2? Like, I don't know. Okay, it pays for the bills. It could be a worse job, but I don't know. I I don't know. Basically, you need to find whatever way works for you. You don't have to do a single thing forever. There are a lot of Disney animators who then started in independent studios. There are independent animators who later went to Disney. Like, everything is possible. You shouldn't be stuck on something forever. I think it's important, though, that you try a thing and try it with your whole heart and with your whole passion for as long as you can, and then see where that takes you. Yeah, Dragon Skunk says, but as an indie, you need to be a little good at everything. Acting, directing, etc. Yeah. And the thing is, I think what I realized when I studied animation, almost, I don't remember exactly if that is actually true, but I felt like everybody who studied animation with me, we all wanted to go to Disney. We wanted to become Disney animators and make Disney films. And later on, it turned out that we were all meaning different things. Like, some of us were like, what I actually mean with that, I want to make stories that touch people's hearts, that connect with them, that, are these big epic events, maybe in their lives. Maybe they will remember that Disney film forever, just like I do with certain Disney films. And that is what that meant for me. Whereas another person was just like so enchanted by some motions in Disney's Fantasia. Like, she had a very dancey, feely approach about this thing. And for her, that meant just having those fluent, nice motions and animate very slowly in that certain animation style. And that person wasn't interested at all in making the stories. So you need to find out exactly what does animation mean for you. And then get good at these parts that it means for you. Like, if animation for you means I want to make animated stories, then learning animation is not good enough. You need to learn writing. You need to pick up a book about writing, about story structure, about things like that. That is the thing with animation. It can go in all sorts of directions. Like, depending on what you animate, you need to learn sword fighting. We already talked about that. You need to learn dancing. Maybe you need to get better at writing. And for directing really quickly also becomes producing. You need to think about, can we afford that? How many people have to work on that for how long? Like, as a good director, you need to juggle with the budget and the creative stuff. Like, the best directors that I know, they were really good at, like, in the beginning, they could be like super creative and think in all directions, but then later the good directors would tune that down, would tune the creativity down, and would say, we have our animatic now, we do it exactly how it is in the animatic, we made an estimate, you work on this for 3 days, maybe 4, you work on this for maybe 10 days, you work on that for maybe, they have, like, they are not the producers, but they need to have a feeling of production. And the director needs to know how to talk to voice actors, how to talk to the staff, to actually motivate them. There's a lot of psychology and being a leader is not easy. And it's not everyone's, like, I can understand that some people don't want to have the responsibility that if they're a bad director, they wasted everybody's time. Like, I can understand if you don't want to have that responsibility. But yeah, Dragon Sky says, my indie drive is I want to tell stories. I see many things not told from my point of view. Yeah, that's a great motivation. Oh, and Mary Gaines suggests watch a lot of movies too. Yeah, certainly. There's this thing in drawing, like, it's called visual library. In order to be able to draw something right, we actually have a video about that on this YouTube channel. In order to draw something right, you need to analyze it. Seeing is not enough. You need to analyze it. Most people cannot draw a bike because they don't know, they've never analyzed where the bike frame, the metal frame, is actually connecting. Like, what is its purpose? How does it work? In order to draw a bike, you need to sit down, analyze, how do those metal things go? And then you can draw a bike. But this is also true for stories. You need to watch a lot of films to have this knowledge, it becomes instinctive, but it can also come from an analytical point. Like, watch a movie and ask yourself, why does this scene work? Why does this story work? Why do we feel for this character? Breaking Bad, for example, why do we feel for the main character who gets taken down a very, very, very dark path? Why, even in the last episode, we have moments, or in one of his cruelest episodes of Breaking Bad, we sometimes can still understand him, and then in another moment we think like, what a monster. Like, how did they do that? Watch movies with, be aware. Same with animation. Like, if you see something moving very elegantly, ask yourself, why did that look so elegant? Maybe look at it frame by frame and learn from it. Maybe even write it down somewhere. That's how Animator Island started, by the way. JK and I, we just wanted to write down things about animation that we noticed. So we won't forget. And honestly, sometimes if I go through old animation articles, I'm like, I wrote this? I knew this? I knew how to animate this? Amazing. Because you forget a lot more than you think you do. Yeah, Kasturi asks, can you do these videos an hour or two earlier? Yeah, usually I try to. I know, I'm aware that it's late for India. I'm so sorry, guys. We had this problem multiple times already. And if I make courses, I usually make them 6 hours earlier. So it's morning in the US, and I think also morning or lunchtime in India. But for these free videos, I sometimes just have to, after work, I have to cram them in. So yeah, I will try to make these earlier. Marigan asks, I think still with regards to the film, we learn a lot as well on subtle actions for acting. That is true. Composition and camera. Yeah, definitely. And composition and camera is like such an important tool for telling a story. I'm always like blown away about how vast, how wide the field of animation actually is. All these things that you need to keep in mind. You need to keep in mind technical things, like how to animate gravity in physics, how to make an arc, all these things. Then you need to think about acting. What makes the performance believable? How does it feel like it really comes from this character's head that is just pixels and lines? How do we put thoughts and feelings into pixels and lines? Acting, really, really complicated, difficult. And then posing, how do we do that? It is clear, just that we see everything and our view is directed. Composition, it needs to look interesting. It needs to strengthen the whole feeling of the scene. And that's such an important part of movie making. Yeah, so definitely. And really learn from it. Write it down, I think, is my point. Just watching films is not enough. Also write it down, observe, process it in some kind of way. In India, it's 1 a.m., 1:20 a.m. I'm so sorry, but I admire your dedication. It's really cool that you joined us. Okay, so I need to wrap it up too soon. It's approaching 9 p.m. in Germany. I know it's not as bad as 1 a.m. here, but Dragon Skunk says, I've seen many times a weird lack of observation records playing counterclockwise in big budget movies, and no one told the animator. In Monster vs. Aliens, a character drinks from the top of the rim. Okay. Yeah, it's weird if things then don't play together. That is strange. Okay. Oh man, you see, I can always talk about animation. It always gets me going and going and going. And I really love having this chat here with you guys. Yeah, I'm sorry that our 11-second club rating got cut short a little, but I think we substituted it pretty well. I enjoyed all of your questions. Thank you so much for watching and for participating in the chat. Let me plug one last time. On animatorisland.com we have mentoring. Just click on mentoring or go to animatorisland.com/mentoring and send me what you want me to have a look at. I would be very happy to help you to improve your animation and your creative skills. And yeah. Oh, Kasturi asked before shutting off, can you please tell me the screen marker software? Yeah, the screen marker software I'm using is called Epic Pen. Let me see, is there like a about section? Yeah, here, Epic Pen. And there is a pro license, but you don't really need a pro license. You can already start with the free license. And it's just really simple. You can draw on the screen and, you know, stuff stays on the screen. And that's all that is. If you work in an animation software that actually supports drawing internally, I think that is always better. Like Blender has the grease pencil, Maya has a pencil too. I think it's not that well, but oftentimes it can be good to draw in the 3D program and to learn the drawing element of the 3D software. But for just annotating something quickly, this really works. I also use this a lot if I talk with people that I work on an animation, if I talk over an animation, like just how we did in the 11-second club entries, then it's a really nice and quick way. One other software that I really like is a Sync Sketch. I always recommend it. I always use it for if we have a look at like a reference or a or if you guys sent me an animation, I usually use Sync Sketch. On syncsketch.com you can upload an animation, and then you can scrub through the timeline and animate over it, draw over a video. Oh, you guys could you see? Yeah, you could see. Draw over a video. So syncsketch.com, also a very cool draw over tool. All right. Yeah, Ivan, thanks for answering too. Cool. So yeah, if you want to support me, if you want me to keep going, it can also help if you get these mentoring sessions, because keeping Animator Island up is very expensive. It costs a lot of work, all this good stuff, and I would really love to help some more guys with your animation. animatorisland.com/mentoring. And thanks again for everyone for participating. I hope you have a great day, evening, or whatever it is in your part of the world. Keep on animating, keep doing awesome stuff. Consider joining the 11-second club competition, and maybe we see your animation next time. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.